Hi everyone, this is Dr. Jane with Avalon Rises, and welcome to another episode of A Planet Among the Stars. And today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the planet Neptune. So just recently, this past week on December 4th, Neptune went direct. So this means that when a planet is in retrograde, it appears in our night sky as if it is moving backwards. And then when it is direct, it is moving forwards again through the progression of the signs. And so, as I mentioned before with other retrogrades, when a planet goes retrograde, again, there's often a lot of drama around this. But what it is actually meaning, or doing, I should say, is that it is making that energy less accessible to us to access in our lives. So what does this mean? Okay, so each of these planets carries a particular energetic frequency, right? And each of these energetic frequencies has something to do with how we operate in our lives. And here's the trick. We, as divine beings, always have the power to bring any energy we need into our lives, no matter what it is. Whatever that energy is that we need to do whatever it is we need to do, we actually have the power to bring that energy into our lives at any moment. But in reality, we have some energies that we are stronger in than others, right? And so when a planet, one of the things that retrogrades are really, really, really good for is showing us what we are really proficient at sourcing internally from our own divinity and what we are leaning on external sources to source. So in this, what I mean by that is when a planet goes retrograde and its energies become less accessible to us to source externally, we then need to be the ones who are sourcing that energy in our lives. And so some of these retrogrades, this is one of the things sometimes I talk to people about, and they're like, oh, this, X retrograde really didn't affect me at all, but boy, howdy, this other retrograde's really hit me over the head. And what that's starting to show you is the energetic frequencies that you are stronger at bringing into your own life than others. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what the energetic frequency is of Neptune. And Neptune is one of the, because now this energy is accessible to lean on in our external lives. And Neptune is one of the more difficult to mentally understand planetary frequencies. And that actually makes sense given what Neptune rules over. Neptune is the planet of intuition. Neptune is a spiritual planet, for sure. Very, very heavy emphasis on spirituality. Jupiter is also a spiritual planet, but in a little bit of a different way. But Neptune is all about that hidden knowing. And the intuition, and psychic awareness. And these are all different ways of framing the same thing, which is that which cannot be known or understood through the mind. So it is not thought. It is not rational. It is not mental energy at all. And so it's funny because sometimes, people talk about Neptune being the planet of dreams or illusion. And oftentimes, especially in our Western culture, as a scientist, I know this really well, we are very heavily emphasizing the rational mind and what we can know with our mind. But this has some pitfalls, because the rational mind is actually really easily tricked. It's really easily fooled. We even have this phrase, right? When somebody is talking themselves into something and we say they are rationalizing it, right? And so the trick is the rational mind is actually much more easily fooled than your intuition. Your intuition is actually really difficult to fool. It's a knowing, a deeper knowing with the heart and with the gut. And very often people cannot explain what they are knowing with their intuition in a mental process. You'll maybe even say things like, it doesn't make any sense, I can't explain it, but I just know I need to do this. And that is actually one of the most powerful forms of communication with us from forces that are too big for our rational minds to encompass. And so when Neptune goes retrograde, it's really testing our intuition, our connection with our intuition. And intuition, if you actually sit and kind of look back over your life, intuition is going to be behind almost all of your most important choices. Now you may have been able to say, oh, here are the pros and cons, but every single person, if they actually get honest with themselves and let go of the illusion of rationality, Neptune, let go of that illusion, there is going to be at least one huge time in your life when you couldn't explain it rationally. You just knew you had to do it, and you were right. You were right. And this is actually the most important function of intuition in our lives. It's actually our most powerful guiding force. And so when Neptune was retrograde, it was much harder to access your intuition. And it was really showing you how strong is your connection to your intuition. And the trick is the relationship there also with the planet Neptune is illusion. And when we, if you think about it, when we are not really utilizing our intuition, it is actually much easier to be in illusion. And so this theme of this retrograde was very much about intuition and illusion in the sign of Aquarius, which is our authenticity. Where are we thinking we are being authentic to ourselves, but we're not, actually? Where are we using anything else other than our true self-intuition to guide ourselves through our lives? How are we expressing ourselves in this world and showing up in this world? And are we making choices in this way based off of what other people want from us instead of off of our true natures? And are we justifying and rationalizing these expressions of ourselves in the world based off of things that aren't actually our true nature? So this was the huge theme of this retrograde. And now when you feel these themes the most is going to depend a little bit on your connection to your intuition. And so if you have a really, really strong connection in this area, you may not have been rocked so much by the retrograde, but then when Neptune comes back direct, you may find, oh wow, now this is extra power in my life. Or similarly, if you are, really heavily leaning on external sources for this energy in your life, when Neptune went retrograde, you may have felt really lost in the woods. And really lost at sea, I should say, given the correspondences of the planet Neptune. And so the nice thing is that regardless of, your personal intuitive strengths, now that Neptune is going direct, we all have a greater ability to access this energy externally to ourselves and try to sort of navigate the muddy waters. And so if you are sometimes intuition can be overwhelming because we can't process it with the mind. We have to process it with the heart. And so if you are sitting here after Neptune has gone direct, and you're like, whoa, I'm like really in mud and I've lost a lot of clarity, I really strongly suggest getting a copy of the Max meditation that was around the energy of Neptune, that we designed for exactly this moment, to help quiet the mind and bring clarity in, so that you can receive these messages of intuition. Because when our mind is just chattering away, it makes it much, much, much harder to hear your heart. So lots of fun stuff about the planet Neptune, and just kind of really keeping in mind that this intuitive power is now going to be enhanced in our lives and help us see through the illusions that might be remaining in the progression themes of 2022. So I will touch a little bit on this as well when I talk about the full moon, and this full moon in Gemini, which is conjunct with Mars retrograde, and talk a little bit about what happens when we have these illusions shattered in these areas as well. So the timing of all of this, of course, is never an accident. And there's a lot of serendipity going on here as we kind of push through the last of this planetary progression before 2023. So if you are seeking clarity, get a copy of that meditation, and I will see you guys next time.